Hotepu, this is His Royal Highness King Ra Sima, the world's first openly gay king. And the function of a king is to feed, protect, and nourish his people. And I wish to use this video to give some insight from the teachings that I give to the gay shamans of the Golden Beetle, who are our master astrologers. And I want to look at the issues of the spree of mob-like killing of black men by cops. And I want to give this surge of events. It's happened all through American history, but it's becoming more predominant in the news. It's becoming more of a headline. And I want to show how the ancient gatekeepers, the gay priests of ancient Egypt, would look at this situation, their go-to protocol for understanding what's going on here. The first thing to understand is that in our Golden Beetle Kemetic astrology, we always think in what we call cycles, or Keperu, the god Kepera, the god of cycles, and that history is nothing more than a cycle or pattern repeating similarly but slightly different. So what we have on the screen here is a chart for a random time for today, the 26th of September, here 2016. And I want you to zoom your eye to this planet here called Bennu in Egypt, or Set in Egypt, called Pluto in Western astrology. This is the planet of Set. When this planet is on its dark side, it is the manifestation of the god Set, the god of evil, the god from whence the name Satan comes from, Setan, Satan. And this planet must be looked at carefully to analyze a repeating pattern, a repeating cycle of behavior that's come back to us. So you see here today on the 26th of September 2016, Set, the god of evil, and Set is a bully god. He's the most supreme bully of the gods, next to the god of pure evil in Egyptian iconography. So Set, the god of evil and bullying, is in the 20th degree of the Archer of Sagittarius. Now, let me clarify something about Sagittarius. Here you have an image of it. We'll shrink this screen down. Here he is, the Archer. But there's a great disconnect between what Western astrologers see this sign as meaning and what Africans saw this sign as meaning. First of all, look at the common sense visual. It's a centaur, basically a man on a horse with a bow and arrow. He's in motion, his cape is flying, so he's on the move. He's hunting. The Kamau saw this constellation as what was called the Great Man of War. And I have found documentation of Egyptian writings that state that the god of this constellation was actually Set, a great war god. And Set was a god that wanted to establish a different kind of philosophy, a different kind of social order, a more wicked and bullying and imperial order. So modern astrologers seem to equate this constellation with the great benefic and wonderful things and expansion and positivity, and this is simply not the way it was seen by the ancients. This was a very aggressive constellation. It's a very mean constellation. And from my analysis, the planet Jupiter is not really benefic. It's quite wicked, actually. In the fact that the planet Jupiter, we call Tehuti Apshetataui, is a great deceiver. That's why in Kemet he was often shown as a baboon god. Thoth, or Tehuti, the baboon god, the god of wisdom, was shown as a tricky monkey. So a lot of deception comes from that planet, a lot of falsity, a lot of hyperbole and exaggeration comes from this planet. So I want to first debunk the Western view of this constellation as being wonderful, benefic, and all that. It has not been my analysis or my experience of watching people's lives influenced by this constellation. In fact, any planet that's involved in this constellation of Sagittarius tends to act in a deformed way. It acts in a kind of handicapped or weird or deformed because it's part human, part animal. It's not a natural creature. So I find planets involved with this have some kind of bizarre, weird, deformed expression or energy. Now, so A, this constellation is mean. In fact, the Pluto you see right here, if you can see it here, Pluto is in the face of the Archer. Now, in the Dendera zodiac, this constellation is shown as an archer on a horse, like there's a centaur, but he has two faces. The front face is a human face, the back face is a lion, a raging lion. Again, this idea of this animal on the prowl, this true menace. So Pluto is in the face of the archer. He's in the great man of war's lion, blood hunting face. Now, what we look at now is we scale back, when did this happen before? And we have this screen where I have Pluto here in 14 degrees of the Archer, which happened in 1764. And if I add a few more years, it will be in 20 degrees where it is now. But we've been having these issues of police murder, these thug police officers who are really mobs, they're really psychopaths running around murdering black men. And many of them getting off for it. So is there a precedent for this? Is this an anomaly, or is this a pattern repeating? So note we're here in 1764, 64, basically 63, 64 time frame. What was going on with black people and authority back in 1763, 64, between 63 and 69, basically? Well, we're going to click on this page here from Wikipedia. In 1765 to 67, this is what happened here. The Non-Importation Agreements began to activate. Okay? The First Continental Congress creates a multi-colony agreement to forbid importation of anything from British merchants. This implicitly includes slaves and stops the slave trade in Philadelphia completely, at least on paper. The second similar act explicitly stops the slave trade. So around the same time when Set, the god of evil, Pluto, was in this same position in the sky, around 1765, 64, 63, that ballpark, this happened. The non-importation agreements occurred. What I am alluding to is that many of these officers who are the ones perpetrating these psychopathic behaviors, shooting black men with such wanton nonchalance, I'm asserting are actually white ancestors, the children of the white people that did not like this non-importation agreement. That the cops that are doing this, not all cops are doing this, but the ones that are doing these heinous acts of psychopathology, I'm asserting have a link spiritually to 1765 and their great white grandpappies who were against this non-importation agreement. And so they're trying to fulfill the desire of their great white grandpappy terrorists, slaveholders, but I call them terrorists, who wanted to keep the terrorism of Africans going on for profit. You see, so this kind of kepera cyclical understanding of the motion of history through astrology, through our gay astrology, is giving us some kind of insight as to why this is popping up. And note here in 1770, Crispus Attucks was killed by British soldiers in the Boston Massacre, a precursor to the American Revolution. So Crispus Attucks, if I click and we go to his page here, basically he was seen as the first man to die in the American for the American Revolution in the Boston Massacre. And it says here, he became an icon of the anti-slavery movement of the 18th century and was held to be the first martyr of the American Revolution. Okay? So, you see history repeating here? We have this movement of people wanting to kill black people back in the 1700s here, 1765 or so, 67. There was a movement to stop the killing of black people, which began that anti-importation movement. That's why there are many white people right now who are appalled by what's happening. Many are not appalled, but there are many who are truly appalled by this senseless killing of black people and Black Lives Matter. That's why the Black Lives Matter movement is becoming strong. It's repeating this history of the stoppage of the killing of slaves, of enslaving black people, killing them, and terrorizing them. So these cops are a really pathetic, sad memory or pale echo of those die-hard white people who didn't want this to end. Okay? And so that's basically our analysis, analyzing this. Now the stars that Pluto is in deal a lot with magic, feeling I'm invincible, I'm magical, I have unlimited powers, and you can't stop me, and I'm a power beyond powers. The stars he is in, this area of the sky here, is very arrogant, it's very cocksure, it's very antisocial. It will hurt people not caring the effects and the repercussions of that damage. And there are stars linking to this snake here called Serpens, and with Scorpion here, that are influencing Pluto right now. Okay? And the Serpens is, you see, is a man holding a snake. The snake is a dangerous force. And the man holding the snake is the one who can snake charm, who can control the dangerous force. This character here, Ophiuchus, the snake controller, would be those who want to end the movement of oppression and terrorism of black people. The snake would be the people that want to perpetuate slavery, perpetuate the terrorism of black people. And so these cops are in the hunting mood of the great man of war, with his raging lion eye, going to shoot people with this bow and arrow. But in a few years, there's going to be another Crispus Attucks. There's going to be a straw that broke the camel's back. And just from historical repetition, this is not a prophecy in terms of a vision, it's just simply logically deduced that history will repeat itself in a similar but slightly different manner, that there's going to be a shooting in the next few years of such a magnitude that it will create a whole new set of laws against violence by police officers, against black people, and against profiling. And this is how we teach our gay shamans of the Golden Beetle how to look at astrology by looking at the past, what's called Sankofa. Many people say Sankofa, the bird that looks backwards, walking forward. We call the Akiru lions, the two lions of yesterday and tomorrow. But you have to look backwards to understand the present and the future. This is not a metaphor, it's a reality in astrology. Look for when the pattern you're looking at happened before. And Pluto repeats its positions about every 245 years or so, which brought us back to around 1763, 4, 5, that area. Okay? So, that's the analysis. I wouldn't call this a prediction or a prophecy. It's more of an analysis of psychology. We can call it keperuology. And may we use the words of power. The word of power for Pluto is ach, 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 ong ach. May many of you pray to this planet, this spirit in the sky, to turn Set, the bully cops, into Bennu, the god of resurrection, the phoenix bird, who can turn this around, and from the ashes of our dear brothers shot, rise forth a new day, a better day. May the sound Ong Ach be sung by the thousands to help protect the innocent people being shot and profiled. I pray you enjoyed this. Long live the gay ancestors, Dwawend Hotepu.